GM, everyone, GM Manila. Thank you for having us. So I just want to introduce myself. My name is Phu Styles. I've been full-time in this space since 2017. I actually have known Gabby before YGG, back when we were doing ICOs. So we go way back. So we're here today to really give you a history of where esports and before Web3 gaming came from. Like, this is, like, we have a legend here, guys. Like, he's one of the very first esports superstars and the very first video game millionaire, I would say. So, Fatal1ty, please tell us your story. Like, how did it all start? When did you start playing video games? In the 90s?
Well, first I want to say thank you for having me here, Gabby. Thank you very much. We were at Korea Blockchain Week, and so he was like, you got to come out to my event in the Philippines. So I've been here a few times I've done Fatal1ty shootouts here in the past, so it's nice to be back again. But I guess to get to your question, kind of how it all started. I started at a pretty young age playing a game called NBA Jam. It was like a game I played when I was a kid, and it was a lot of fun. But I actually took first in my city for playing a video game, and I think I got like $20 of credit at the store or wherever it was. But my interest for competitive gaming and for competing kind of grew, and so when I turned 16, a game called Quake 1 came out, and I was a big fan of Quake, and they had tournaments in my area in Missouri. I'm from Kansas City in the US, and I started winning all these tournaments, and that's kind of got me really interested because the internet really became available to everyone in every living room. And so this is kind of how old I am, right? But for me, it was like I can play against the best players in the world from my home. And for me, playing against the best talents in the world was very important to me. And so being able to do that through video games was my outlet.
So when did you actually start competing?
So basically, since I was a teenager, from 16 to 18, so for about 3 years, I played throughout the Midwest. I won tournaments for about 3 years. And my friend that I used to play video games with a lot, we were all on IRC, which is basically like the Discord nowadays. But basically he said, hey, you're really good at this game. You might be the best player in the world. I'm like, no way. Like, didn't really think much of it. And he's like, dude, they're giving away 25 grand at this tournament in Texas. You need to go down there. And so I saved up $500 and drove to Texas. I slept on somebody's couch and went to the tournament, and I ended up winning $4,000 that weekend. So it was pretty cool. I made a handshake deal with my dad, and I told him if I don't win any money, I'm done. And so I think it's also kind of cool here at this event. People are coming here to play, anti-chess and playing Arena of Faith and obviously Parallel for a lot of money. And so it reminds me of like my beginning. And so I think that's why we're talking about this.
Yeah, I mean, back in those days, were these prizes even available? Like, what were the biggest prizes you were part of?
Yeah, so I mean, the 25K tournament was like the beginning. 2 weeks later, I got invited to go to Sweden to represent USA. So they had the top 12 players go to Sweden. I was just 18, turning 19 years old, and I won 18 games straight, losing 0 against the top 12 guys in the world. And so that's when I kind of got my start, and I went up to a sponsor. And when you're that young, and I think also you can relate, maybe you have an ultimatum from a parent, or you have an ultimatum from just life that you need to like either find out or go back down the other path. And so for me, I was very aggressive. Like I would walk up to the sponsor and I'd be, hey, you should sponsor me. And they're like, well, we already sponsored these 2 other guys. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm the best in the world. And so it was really funny. He was like, "Let me think about it." And so I won the tournament and everything. We flew back to Chicago from Sweden, and we're in the customs. And the manager of the company, he walked up to me and he goes, "Yeah, we're going to sponsor you." And so that basically started my career as being a professional gamer. And I really saw the potential of being a professional gamer because back then it wasn't a thing yet. No one was making a full-time living from playing video games yet. So I was the first in that regard, and I made like $110,000 that year playing video games.
And that's what, 1999?
It was 2000, yeah.
2000,
yeah.
That's a lot of money back then, guys.
Yeah, it was really a lot of fun. I mean, obviously being the guy that basically broke the ground for showing the world that you can make a living playing video games. I had an aha moment where I was like, I'm really onto something, and this is something that I really thought would be the sport of the 21st century. And so at the beginning, I'm competing like a traditional athlete. I'm training, I trained for like 4 hours. Then I'd actually go for a run. I thought being physically fit was very important. So I ran 2-3 miles every day. And then I would train at least 8 hours a day, if not more. And I would spar against the best players in the world. I mean, you have your 15 top guys from the Wolves here, right? So you're sparring with people that you really enjoy being with, and also you get to do something you love and compete. So I feel like if you always surround yourself with people you really enjoy spending time with, it's like half work, half play, and that was really my cheat code.
So, what were all the games that you're like a 12-time world champion? So for like 10 years straight, what were all the games you?
So my games are typically FPS deathmatch games. So I was a world champion on 4-on-4 team deathmatch, which is like more like Arena of Faith, but like that's a MOBA game. I played FPS games, and then I mostly dominated in dual 1-on-1. So it was just me and you like in a dungeon and battling it out. And so basically I played games like Quake, Unreal Tournament, Painkiller, Doom 3, Alien vs Predator, Counter-Strike, Call of Duty. Like I played pretty much any shooting game. Any shooting game you want to play, I can play it.
And wasn't Painkiller like the first $1 million match in the world?
Yeah, so we had a $1 million world tour, and that was in New York City. And Intel put up $1 million, and my whole life I was waiting for that moment for like, man, someday there'll be $1 million tournament, and I want to win it. And so that was kind of like my dream for a long time. And I was actually the underdog in the tournament. There was another player that was the number one player at that game. So it was a really cool like storytelling where you had the number one gamer in the world versus the number one Painkiller player in the world. So it was a really good matchmaking. It was real. Like it wasn't really matchmaking. Like this is like they planned it, but it worked out in a way where we had over 90 countries tuned in to watch our match. And this is the year 2005. So before Twitch, before all the logging on, watching live streams and so forth, we had 90 countries tuned in to watch our match. And I ended up beating him 4 games straight and winning the $1 million World Tour.
And also, were you on MTV? I'm a gamer, True Life, and every.
That was kind of like my breakout to like fame. They did a 4-month documentary on my story, and just it showed me traveling to different cities, training, sleeping on couches, kind of like just the real like grunt of like doing it. It was really cool way to be shown because it really showed how hard it is to be a top world professional gamer. A lot of people think you're just playing games or whatever deal is. And I was like, no, I really, this is my life. And so it was an amazing episode. That show literally re-aired for about 13 years. It was like one of the top 3 all-time True Lives ever recorded. And it was just a lot of fun, and that just led me on to starting my business and other things that really helped me, really become the first gaming influencer that was able to monetize himself in that way.
Yeah, so that and you got like, the cover of Time magazine and you were on 60 Minutes, and that parlayed into the first gaming brand, your Fatality brand. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I think the MTV thing was like one of my friends told me is like, hey, sometimes when you get this mad PR, like you get like a lot of press, you got to take advantage of it and you got to launch something. And so I was like, what? Like I've always wanted to make things for gamers, and I was already like a big advocate for these like large mouse pads. And so back in the day, everyone had these little square mouse pads. I'm like, dude, you can't even use a low sensitivity. Like I keep running off the edge. So I found this company that made printer mats, literally printer mats. And I started using them in tournaments, and everyone was like kind of making fun of me at the tournaments. Like, what the hell is this printer mat you're doing here? And I'm like, dude, it's like I win a lot with this printer mat. And so then basically I called up the company and I said, hey, it was kind of a funny story, but I go, hey, how's your sales been? I called like the guy that makes the printer mats, right? And he's like, we've actually tripled in sales. And I'm like, you're welcome. and so I was like, you don't know why you're selling more printer mats. And then I explained to him how I'm on MTV and so forth. And I was like, to show thanks to me because I'm the one that's pushing your printer mats, I want to make a Fatal1ty mouse pad. And so he launched it, sold it to me for cost, and gave me a good deal. I created a PayPal website on Fatal1ty.com, and I basically started selling mouse pads with my brand on it. And I was making $5,000 to $10,000 a month selling printer mats now as mouse pads. Yeah, so that was the first large gaming mouse pad, and now you see them everywhere. But that was the origin story of mouse pads.
And then that parlayed into you inventing like the gamer headset and motherboard.
Yeah, so my brand got very popular in the scene, and then I started licensing my brand. So if you ever heard of like Creative Labs or Sound Blaster or ASRock, so I would go to manufacturers and basically present my brand as their gaming division. And basically they would say, okay, so, there's a bigger story to it where I turned down a $200,000 contract, but like, it was just like I had a lot of confidence in myself. And basically I was like, I'm going to find my own VC money. I'm going to find my own thing. I'm going to do it myself. I've already done it. I've already went this far doing it myself. And, but then the company came back and says, okay, we're not going to give you the 200 grand anymore, but we'll give you royalties of all sales worldwide. And that turned into a multi-million-dollar business, like basically the next month. It was really remarkable getting my first check. I kind of showed my roommate, and my bill was about $250 a month for my rent. And the first check I got was 70 grand for 1 month. And so I was like, this is crazy. And the company calls me. It's like, yeah, there's more coming. And so that was the beginning of my career, licensing my brand to make products. But also I was working with the manufacturer to tell them, hey, I want this headphone to have this fabric, or I want these features on it, or this sound card needs to be designed so I can hear the footsteps in the game, or for motherboards, I want to make sure that it's really good for overclocking your computer and all these type of things. So that was basically how I launched the Fatal1ty brand.
So, it sounds all glamorous and you're such a huge star in this space, but you had a lot of backlash and naysayers, and even your own mother wasn't a fan of you playing video games for a living. Can you share about all that challenge you went through?
Yeah, I would say because we're at the infancy of Web3, I think, still, and that's what I can definitely relate to, like people saying that this is not the thing, or like, what are you doing? I did a lot of interviews where, people thought I was violent because I'm playing shooting games. I'm like, no, I'm playing a sport. It's just electronic sports. And then obviously my mom didn't really agree with it. And so, I made it, like I said, I made the handshake deal with my dad, and I basically started pursuing it. And, it's just kind of like, if you're onto something and there's something that you really enjoy and you're happy, like, I think that's what you go for. And people can say whatever they want, but if you have a vision of where you're going and where you're going to end up at, you just go for it. I mean, I think that's kind of the message here is that, for me, I wanted to find out if I was a good gamer or not. Like, I really wanted to find out. Like, I had to go. And so I don't think I could have lived my life without knowing. And, I'm down for someone telling me that, hey, I'm not the best gamer or, like, you're better or whatever deal is. Like, I'm down for it. But it's not my parent that can tell me that. It has to be another person that's also on my level, and he says no, like he beats me in the game. So then I can have respect for him, and I can understand like I need to move on.
So what would you say to all these people out here who are facing this same challenge? What advice do you have to all these Web3 gaming pioneers? Where what we actually just want is not just Web3 gaming. We just want to be gaming. So what do you have to say to everybody?
Well, I think what I see is that you don't really know where you're going to end up at right now, right? Like you're doing content creation, you're playing in tournaments and so forth, and you might win the parallel tournament this weekend or whatever deal is. And the thing is, it's going to lead into other things. It's going to lead into maybe you create a league or you created an empire in some other facet of Web3. So for me, it's I see the potential is like, don't think that whatever you're doing today is what you're going to be doing in 5 years. You might find a path where you're working with conventions or events or creating your own league or whatever the deal is.
Anyway, our time's running up, but we just wanted to make a couple of announcements. So we decided because of his history and my history that we joined together and formed an advisory group to help Web3 gaming with what he's up to and helping them turn more mainstream. So that's one. And two, we're announcing the Fatal1ty Guild. Do you want to give?
Yeah. So, YGG's like obviously meeting at Korea Blockchain Week, and they were pushed me onto this. So definitely starting a guild, and I want to learn as much as possible about Web3 gaming. I want to be an authentic figure from where I came from, and I think I could be a great voice for Web3 going forward. And I'm really looking forward to learning as much as possible. So definitely come say hi to me. I'm always interested to learn and to help push this amazing new phenomenon.
And yeah. And just one little quick announcement. I talked to Gabby about this, but yes, I'm producing a $100,000 Doom tournament, and everyone in the guilds will be invited to participate in it. And we'll be sending some more information about that very soon. So thank you so much. And
Thank you very much.
Day.